The Omnibus Law. Omnibus Law. Regulation. Omnibus Law. Regulation 1. There shall be formed a panel of 10 individuals which reside in the immediate society in which one shall serve to assemble what is to be called the Chamber of Judgment. The term period for each individual to serve on the chamber shall beeth no more than 5 years and no less than 2. The position held by the individual on the Chamber of Judgment shall be that of one with paid compensation by the society in which it serves. The individuals to serve on the chamber shall be chosen by a group of individuals formed by the immediate society, which shall beeth known as the Civil Committee. The Civil Committee shall consist of 8 individuals which reside in the immediate society in which one shall serve. The term period for each individual to serve on the Civil Committee shall beeth no more than 5 years and no less than 2. Only individuals who are over the age of 35 years of age, without any record of criminal actions within one's lifetime, shall beeth chosen to serve on the Chamber of Judgment. The Chamber of Judgment shall beeth the deciding factor of innocence or guilt of such individuals accused of engaging in criminal activity within society. Any decision or judgment made by the Chamber of Judgment must meet or surpass 2/3 majority vote in all cases in which death is not a penalty of consideration. The penalty of death shall require a 10-10 unanimous vote. Omnibus Law. Regulation 2. No individual can be forced beyond their own will to serve upon the Chamber of Judgment and must consent to a personal investigation by the Civil Committee to determine if such individual is qualified to serve on such chamber. There shall be no discriminative intention associated with the selection of the individuals to serve upon the Chamber of Judgment. All individuals who wish to be considered by the Civil Committee must submit an application to the Civil Committee requesting to serve on the Chamber of Judgment. All applicants desiring to serve on their society's Chamber of Judgment must reside within the immediate society in which he or she applies to serve. All fees, services, tithes, or taxes required of the members of such society must be within good standing by the individual for such individual to be considered by the Civil Committee to serve on the Chamber of Judgment. Omnibus Law. Regulation 3. There shall be an authority force which works directly under the Civil Committee to detain individuals accused of criminal activity. The accused, along with one's accuser, shall appear before the Civil Committee to plead one's case in defense, after which the Civil Committee shall deliberate whether or not the case at hand holds validity, and if it shall or shall not be heard by the Chamber of Judgment. The authority force shall be at a full-time compensated position and must be held by individuals who reside in the society in which thou art to serve. Omnibus Law. Regulation 4. There shall be a law enforcement group assembled which works directly under the Chamber of Judgment to see that all judgments announced by the Chamber are carried out accordingly and follow the criterion and parameters set forth by the Chamber of Judgment. The law enforcement group shall be at a full-time compensated position and must be held by individuals who reside in the society in which thou art to serve. The time period for each individual to serve as law enforcement shall be no more than 5 years and no less than 2. Omnibus Law. Regulation 5. There shall be a committee formed that shall consist of past judges from the Chamber of Judgment, as well as past members of the Civil Committee, which shall be called the Commission of Criminal Investigation. The term period for each individual to serve on the Commission of Criminal Investigation shall be no more than 5 years and no less than 2. Such commission shall oversee a group of investigators to collect evidence required to prove the guilt or innocence of an individual accused of criminal activity. This group or team of investigators shall work directly under the Commission of Criminal Investigation. The Commission of Criminal Investigation shall show no bias toward an individual's innocence or guilt and shall focus only on collecting and presenting the factual evidence found. Such evidence shall be presented first to the Civil Committee, which will allow the Civil Committee to arrive at a decision on whether or not such case haveth enough validity to be presented to the Chamber of Judgment. The evidence will then accompany the case to the Chamber of Judgment, which will work in conjunction with the accusers and the accused testimony, and shall assist the Chamber to arrive at either an innocent, guilty, or ambivalent verdict. Omnibus Law. Verdict. There shall be 3 verdicts the Chamber of Judgment may arrive at, and they shall be as follows. Guilty. The COJ arrives at a 2/3 majority vote that the accused is guilty of the crime he or she is accused of committing. The accused is punished as specified by the Chamber of Judgment. The verdict shall be recorded on the individual's criminal record. Ambivalent. The COJ arrives at a split decision or determines there is not enough evidence to proceed with the judgment. The accused is released from detention, and such judgment shall be recorded on the individual's personal criminal record. However, the deliberation of the Chamber of Judgment may continue as more information and evidence is gathered. The suspect may be required to return to the Chamber of Judgment when notified to proceed with the case of judgment. The Chamber of Judgment shall decide if a statute of limitations is required and for how long. Innocent. The COJ arrives at a 2/3 majority vote that the accused is innocent of the crime he or she is accused of committing. The accused will be released and freed from detention and given a public statement of innocence. The individual's record will remain clean from such incidents, and the individual's record will appear as if the trial had never taken place. Omnibus Law. Laws. Omnibus Law. Law 1. 1.1. Thou shalt not murder. Omnibus Law. Penalties. 1.1. The punishment for acts of murder shall be death. Omnibus Law. Definitions. 1.1. Murder shall be defined as the following: the death of one individual which is directly caused by another, understood as unprovoked or intentional, without plausible or practical cause, premeditated or pre-planned, within moments of rage or haste, and or while committing other offenses against the law. Omnibus Law. Law 2. 2.1. Thou shalt not commit acts of violence toward others. Omnibus Law. Penalties. 2.1. The punishment for acts of violence toward others shall be physical penalties. Omnibus Law. Definition. 2.1. Violence shall be defined as the following: physical harm by one to another, understood as unprovoked or intentional physical harm inflicted by one to another without plausible or practical cause. Premeditated or pre-planned physical harm inflicted by one to another within moments of rage or haste and or while committing other offenses against the law. Omnibus Law. Law 3. 3.1. Thou shalt not commit theft. Omnibus Law. Penalties. 3.1. The punishment for acts of theft toward others shall be physical penalties and or 1 year severe labor. Omnibus Law. Definitions. 3.1. Theft shall be defined as the following: theft by one from another, understood as the taking of any object by one or more individuals from one or more individuals, either monetary or physical, without agreed payment or permission. Premeditated or pre-planned actions of deception for the purpose of obtaining the belongings, either monetary or physical objects, by one or more individuals from one or more individuals. Unwillingly being forced or coerced to enter into a contractual, written or verbal agreement by one or more individuals to another one or more individuals, which forces an individual beyond their will or control to surrender or forfeit objects of either monetary or physical value. Omnibus Law. Law 4. 4.1. Thou shalt not commit rape. Omnibus Law. Penalties. 4.1. The punishment for acts of rape toward others shall be associate penalties. Omnibus Law. Definitions. 4.1. Rape shall be defined as the following: forcible sex or sexual activities by one to another, understood as forcing the act of sex or sexual behavior by one individual upon another against the individual's will or consent. Forcing the act of sex or sexual behavior between two or multiple other individuals against the individual's will or consent. Unwillingly being forced or coerced to enter into a contractual, written or verbal agreement by one or more individuals to another one or more individuals, which forces an individual beyond their will or control to sexually surrender or forfeit their physical body for sexual entertainment or pleasure for another. Omnibus Law. Law 5. 5.1. Thou shalt not vandalize. Omnibus Law. Penalties. 5.1. The punishment for acts of vandalizing toward public or private property or the property of others shall be physical penalties and or 1 year severe labor. Omnibus Law. Definitions. 5.1. Vandalizing shall be defined as the following: destructive activities to personal property by one to another, understood as the intentional destruction of property or possessions belonging to another individual without the knowledge, will, or consent of the other individual. The intentional sabotaging of property or possessions belonging to another individual without the knowledge, will, or consent of the other individual in such a manner that damages of such property or possessions arise. unwillingly being forced or coerced to enter into a contractual, written, or verbal agreement by one or more individuals to another one or more individuals, which forces an individual beyond their will or control to destroy or sabotage their own personal property or possessions for another individual's gain. Omnibus Law. Law 6. 6.1. Thou shalt not commit negligent action. Omnibus Law. Penalties. 6.1. The punishment for negligent actions toward public or private property shall be determined by the Chamber of Judgment with at least a 2/3 majority vote. Omnibus Law. Definitions. 6.1. Negligent action shall be defined as the following: destructive, harmful activity to bodily or personal property by one to another in a non-intentional yet negligent manner, understood as any unjust action imposed upon another individual's property or public property which is determined to be a result from unintentional yet irresponsible behavior. Any unjust action imposed upon another individual's property or public property which is a direct result from committing another criminal action yet is determined to be unintentional. Omnibus Law. Penalties and definitions. Omnibus Law. Penalties and definitions. 1. Death. A penalty in which results from an individual's life being brought to an end. 2. Physical penalty. A penalty in which the results are pain and discomfort brought on with intentional manner. 3. Severe labor. A penalty in which the individual is sentenced to a period of forced labor. 4. Executive penalty. Regularly scheduled physical penalties. 5. Associate penalties. Physical penalties combined with severe labor. 6. Personal service. A period of time in which an individual must provide a service to their community without compensation.